We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Bill. This is Bill the Stumper. Bill has had his Denon AVR-X6300H set to Odyssey flat with dynamic EQ on and dynamic volume off. At least that's what he wants to set it to.
Yeah.
The Denon seems to have had other plans. It seems to turn off Odyssey or default to the reference curve, seemingly for random reasons, but maybe when changing inputs or powering off and back on again. So he's not exactly sure when it's changing, but it seems to be changing.
Yeah.
He's tried locking the settings, but it still happens. It doesn't switch while he's actively watching something, so he can manually put things back where they should be and still enjoy a movie, but obviously it's a hassle to have to check every time. So what's the thoughts? Dude, did he have another problem with this receiver? This wasn't that guy.
I mean, this was he had the thumping Netflix. That's what started this all off. This could be another stumping one because I don't know on this. I
even did some research on this, and I can't find anybody else having the same problem. That I couldn't find anybody talking about it. So makes me think that either you have a defective unit.
Yeah, this could be a glitch. Definitely could be a glitch.
Which is kind of where I'm leaning. Mm-hmm. But I mean, what remote do you use? You know, I mean, what remote do you use? A Harmony? Because you can set up
number of buttons you'd have to press.
Yeah, I mean the macros. You have to set up a macro for that.
There's no way he programmed a macro to put it back.
No, I'm saying that he needs to program a macro to set that up so that every time he turns it on, it resets Odyssey to make sure it sets it to the right thing. I'm not even sure if that's possible, to be honest with you. I honestly think this is a glitch. I do too. I can't find any reason why it would do this. It's never done it to me. As far as I can tell, it's never done to anybody else. I do think you may have been cursed by somebody at some point.
Yeah.
You clearly have pissed off the audio gods in some way. You need to make some sort of like sacrifice or offering or amends in some way. I don't know what you're going to do. I have no idea what to tell you. There's certainly a spirit quest in your future to figure this out because, dude, seriously, get out of that house. It's like haunted.
This seems like have you ever had this? I've had stuff like this happen just like on a computer, like on a laptop, right? Like you set up a like the default way that your dock is supposed to open with all your presets or whatever, and it never remembers them. And it's like, why do you go through, make all the changes, save changes? It goes, okay, I saved the change, and then it never works. And you're like, why? Why doesn't that work? And sometimes you're just kind of left with that. It seems like that type of thing. But I would say in a case like this, since this seems like it's a memory glitch of some sort, I would do a full factory reset. Right? Like I'm not exactly sure the buttons you press, but in the manual for the Denons, they'll describe how to do a full factory reset.
Yep.
I'd run through the setup wizard again. And then and this is a good thing to do regardless. I would use the web interface, right? So you go into the menu of the Denon, you go into the network settings, and you look up the IP address, and you plug that IP address into any web browser and any computer, and that will bring you to the web interface. Now, you can do all the settings in the web interface, and I've found that sometimes making all my manual settings changes, like setting it to the flat curve, if I want to change speakers that were auto set to large to small, all that type of stuff, I actually find it easier to do that in the web interface anyway, and then save your configuration in the web interface.
Yeah.
Now, if this problem continues to happen after doing all that, it's not exactly any less of a hassle to load your settings from your computer every time because that's a 10-minute process. So I'm not going to say that that's a solution.
No, that's not the solution.
But I would try doing that first because if it's just a memory glitch where it's like I ran the auto setup, well, I know for a fact he's run it more than one time, but let's just say for some reason after all those multiple times it had a memory hiccup. I'm like, just do the full factory reset, do it again, do any manual changes in the web interface, and then if it's still screwing up, call Denon because it's a glitch.
It is the turn it on, turn it back on, turn it off, turn it back on solution.
Basically, it's a reset. We're doing a reset.
It's not a bad idea. I would definitely do that before I called Denon. I think that's great. Sure. My wife the other day was like, my iPhone won't charge. I'm like, I don't know, dude. I ain't got time for you. Because she's, whatever.
Power it fully off, power it fully back on.
It's exactly what she did. She goes, I turned it off and turned it back on. It's starting to charge now. I'm like,
yep.
See? I didn't even have to. Problems were fixing themselves around here. Love it. Yeah, so when we talk about subwoofer location, this is Bill again. What part of the subwoofer do we use as a point of reference for measuring its distance from any walls? For example, his SVSPB13 Ultra has its driver and ports all on the front face, but the cabinet is 28 inches long. If he has it pressed up against the side wall, it leaves, say, 18 inches of space between the back wall and the front panel. Do we consider the sub to be in a corner? 18 inches from the front wall, 36 inches from the front, 46 inches from the front wall, or maybe some hit middle point like 32 inches from the front wall. So what if the driver were on the front and the ports were on the back, or what if we had passive radiators? That's actually not a bad question. Yeah. And I don't know that. I mean, usually it doesn't matter because most people are dealing with the same sub. So if they measure to the front of the speaker to the back of the speaker, or how far from the front wall to the back of the speaker, or front wall to the front of the speaker, or whatever. In general, we're not talking about what side has the driver on it. That's not what we're looking at. I am talking from where you stop having wall, from where the wall starts and where the speaker starts. That gap is what I'm talking about when I say 12 inches off of the front wall. I'm talking from the wall to where the subwoofer starts. If the subwoofer driver is faced forward, that's the back of it. If it's faced the other way, that's the front of it. Doesn't really matter. I'm just talking about where the speaker starts. If you had two dramatically different sized subwoofers, like a SVS cylinder and the one of their 2+/2 or whatever, the ones that were the size of a coffee table, in theory you would want to have a more maybe a different distance measurement when you're talking about something like that. But the most subs are around, especially most people's environments are about the same size. So I would just say to wherever the speaker starts and the wall start, gap there.
So I mean, if you're going by what frequencies the subwoofer is producing, you've got about 2 feet of leeway where there's kind of like anywhere within about a 2-foot radius as far as the frequencies you're producing, because they're low, long wavelengths, that it doesn't really matter too much, because like 125 hertz is about 8.8 feet long. That's about how long that wavelength is. So a quarter of that wavelength is like 2.2 feet. That's why I say you got about a 2-foot leeway, because your sub isn't playing a tremendous amount above 125 hertz in most cases. So within sort of that 2-foot range doesn't make a tremendous difference, which is why for most subs, like you're saying, this sub is 28 inches long. All right, that's a little over 2 feet. But more or less, if you had that sub tucked right into the corner, you'd say, yeah, it's in the corner. For all intents and purposes, even if you turned it around and faced the drivers into the wall, it's like still more or less within about 2 feet, and it really doesn't make much of a difference. Yeah. So you kind of got about a 2-foot leeway. If you've taken this sub and you've positioned the back of it 18 inches away from the wall, then I'd say, yeah, your sub is like, a 1.5 foot away from that wall. It's not right in the corner. You've given it some distance because you've got that 18 inches plus the 28 inches to where the driver actually is, but subtract about 2 feet off of that, and that's kind of more or less where your sub is, as far as if you want to pick one point of reference. So yeah, give yourself about a 2-foot leeway and you'll be well within the ballpark.
Bill also asks, can projectors get burn-in? So should we have any concern about constantly having black bars or leaving a menu or HUD or HUD on the projector for a really long time? That was this question kind of blew my mind, because I never really thought about it.
Yep.
And I don't know that I've ever heard or seen burn-in from a projector. I imagine it's possible.
I did it with my old Sanyo.
But really, don't you kill the it's not the bulb that burns in, right? It's the panel or whatever.
Panel itself.
I mean, I guess I guess it's possible, but I've never seen it.
Well, burn-in isn't the correct thing. You can get uneven wear. So like when I had my old Sanyo, that was like a 720p projector. It was at the time where I still had a lot of 4x3 content. Like that's how long ago this was. So I watched a lot of 4x3 content on that projector with the black bars on the left and right. And the center portion that was always lit up of that LCD, aged, I don't know exactly how to say it, but like you could kind of make out if you put up a full white field. You're like, oh, I can still see the black bars. Like they're a little bit
brighter,
not the same shade as everything else. So I mean, LCDs can get that type of uneven wear.
Would DLPs do the same thing? I can't even imagine that DLPs would.
I mean, technically they can, because I mean they're mirrors, but those mirrors over time can like etch or become a little foggy. That it's. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of heat on those tiny little mirrors.
Yeah.
There is a lot of heat. So over enough time, they can start to deteriorate a little bit. So yeah, it's possible. It's possible to create uneven wear, I'll call it. I won't call it burn-in, but I'll call it uneven wear on projector panels. I mean, yeah, constantly leaving something with the same black bars in the same space or the exact same image in the exact same place for hours and hours and hours and hours. It's not great for any display. Flat panel projector, anything. It's not fantastic. Yeah.
So Bill knows we get excited about lasers, especially Rob, but and he does as well. But have we actually compared the Epson LS10000 and the LS10500 to the JVC projectors, their regular lamp-based DILA models, not the new $35,000 Blue Essent. He did in stores, not at home, and the JVCs still had superior black levels in motion. Absolutely no blurring or loss of detail with fast-moving images. He wanted to like the laser-based projectors, but he wound up buying a JVC because his eyes told him it was better. Yeah.
That's what the reviewers say too, man. You're not alone.
There you go. I don't trust anything I see in a store. Sure. I hate to say it. It doesn't take much to mess with the settings and make something look bad, something look good. That being said, that's why I trust reviewers more than I trust, not Amazon reviewers, but like real reviewers.
No, like Projector reviews, Projector Central,
that sort of thing. Than I do anything else, and I'll buy it. I don't need to see a display before I buy it. I'll buy it straight off of Amazon or wherever, just based on stuff I read. I'm okay with that. It's like speakers where there's some subjectivity there.
Yeah, right.
Projectors are like they're shooting it with a light meter and they're measuring this and that, and it's kind of an objective thing. There can be some subjectivity to it for sure, but I don't know, man.
No, I mean you're right, Bill. I mean the JVCs are still the black level champs. For anything under $10,000, they're still the black level champs. The motion thing, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't done the same comparison you have to answer that question, so no. But yeah, no. By every review, they're still the black level champs. They're still awesome. It's just I'm like, these laser ones are here now. They're at a somewhat reasonable price. I think the extremely wide color gamut and the longer lifespan is a feature, right? That's a feature. But if you want the black level champ, the JVCs still win. And what you probably saw with the motion, I don't doubt that. I would trust your eyes on that. So as long as you're okay with eventually replacing that lamp, because eventually you might, or replacing the projector, like I'm not saying, like I might do the same choice. I very well might.
So Bill's got some pics that you guys are going to see here in a second. If you are on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/AVRant. Okay, Bill's got theater room is now complete. It looks great. And he absolutely loves it and thanks us for all of our help and suggestions along the way. So you can look at those pictures. I'm going to look at them in a second. Right now I'm reading. He wanted to stress that he really loves the Focal Bird speakers on his ceiling as his Atmos speakers. They match well with his Ascend Sierra RAL front speakers. He also thinks they look cool, but most of all, he went to quite a bit of trouble to soundproof this theater, and being on ceiling instead of in ceiling really helps keep the room as airtight and soundproof as possible. He also wanted to mention that his installer used Origin Acoustics in ceiling speakers in a different room for whole house audio and more casual music listening. Bill thinks they sound fantastic. Since he's never heard us mention this brand on the podcast, he just wanted to let us know about them. Apparently, the original founder of Speakercraft sold off that brand for, I'm sure, a tremendous amount of money, and went and started Origin Acoustics with some small fraction of that money. So, I'm sure that they have really good markup for your installer, dude. But I bet they sound fine. Like, I got no problems with that. Whole
sure.
audio.
No, Always
real
happy to
thing
have
here.
another in-ceiling, in-wall speaker option. And I looked it up. They do sell backer boxes. I'm like, if they don't sell backer boxes, I'm not recommending them. But they do sell backer boxes. So that is fine. We will add it to the compendium.
There, and those of you that are looking at the Sierra Rouse speakers and wanting, a less expensive surround or overhead speaker, there's another person who thinks they sound good out of the
I love the way these look. I
They do.
really like it.
Let me look at the thing here. I think
yeah.
I closed. Did I close it? No, there it is. Yeah,
So I mean,
it looks really
he's got
good.
the super birds on
Which are-
his side
yeah.
walls and back wall as his surrounds and surround back. I think
Yeah.
those look great in there. I'm like,
They do.
man, you could walk in there and not at first blush, if you're not an audio video person, not even totally realize that those are speakers. They kind of look like they're like a decoration or a wall sconce or something, right? Like
Yeah.
they're like nice and flush. They blend right in. I'm like, those look great. And then those focal birds, and I want people to see these images because I'm like, they aren't as small as you think, right? Like, look at those.
Yeah.
Those are, half decent size speakers, but they look like a nice little light that's firing down. They're not a light, they're a speaker, but they don't look out of place. Like,
Yeah.
So I really like the way this
I kind of want him to put like another something like all the room treatments are really low. I kind of want him to have something a little bit higher. In there. But look,
long as
if he
they're
even
at your level or so.
yeah,
They-
yeah,
they
that
are,
was great.
so.
I love the little bar thing in the back too. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Though if my kids sat in those chairs, they would be kicking the couch the entire time, and I would that would end up with me in jail or something. All right.
Yeah, this looks great, and those focal speakers
Congratulations.
look great. So
They do
I
look
like
great.
that a
The
lot.
whole theater looks great. I really like the whole thing. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
now go out and listen to something.